So, we're all trapped inside trying to avoid a plague, and now we have to face a holiday that's all about plagues. And worse, most of us can't celebrate Passover the way that we're used to celebrating it. But there's no reason why we can't make Passover 2020 not just memorable, which it's sure to be, but also special. Whether you're planning a Seder for the first time by yourself, or just trying to prep a great meal with limited ingredients, we have some people here we think can help.
Yeah, we just gonna cool it out on this one. We gonna talk about redeeming ourselves. So this is my redemption song. As I take the second cup of wine, I recline, dig deep in my mind, listen.
Here we are preparing for Passover. I'm in New Orleans with my daughter Marissa. Usually I make about 5 Carosa to show the wandering of the Jews around the world. I chose this Carosa. It's a Moroccan Carosa. It's really called a truffle Carosa. You roll it in cinnamon, these little balls. We're going to make this with almonds, dates, apples, cinnamon, and ginger. And sometimes you leave it overnight, but I'm not going to do that for you right now. And you roll it in cinnamon, so it's considered a truffle. In my family, what we're doing is we're trying to include relatives from every country that they're in. And as most Jewish families, ours is in the United States, it's in France, it's in Israel, Germany. We're all over the place. Chag Sameach.
My name is Pati Jinich, and I'm gonna be making with you today my sesame nutmeg matzo soup. This is a soup that I learned how to make from my grandmother, who I called Lali. She was from Austria and she immigrated to Mexico. I'm gonna start by adding a matzo soup mix packet, which you can get anywhere or you probably have already in your pantry. So I'm adding the matzo mix packet. And then I'm gonna add 2 eggs. I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And then I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame oil. And this was an addition that I started incorporating into the mix. I'm gonna add about 1/4 teaspoon of grated nutmeg. A ojo de buen cubero, as we Mexicans say. And then instead of adding ground black pepper, I'm gonna add a dash of white pepper, which goes really well with the nutmeg. I'm gonna add some parsley. And with the serrano chile, you know your serrano chile, spicier than the jalapeno. If you can't find a serrano chile or you have a jalapeno chile, you can sub for the jalapeno, but you could also use a dry chile if you have it in your pantry. Mix it all together. Adding a splash of sparkling water. So of course some people prefer their matzo balls really hard and then skip the sparkling water. Some people like them super soft, then add to 1 packet of matzo ball soup like 2 to 3 tablespoons of sparkling water. But if you want them just fluffy and pillowy, just add 1 tablespoon of sparkling water. Any sparkling water will do. I have salted water that's here waiting for us to make the balls. You can make the balls as little or as big as you want. I have some water here to moisten my hands to help me roll out the matzo ball soups. Once I finish putting all of the matzo balls in the simmering salted water, I'm gonna cover it, I'm gonna reduce the heat, and I'm gonna let them cook for about 30 minutes. And what I would usually do is I have back here chicken broth that I make ahead of time. So we have the matzo ball, and then I already prepped my garnishes. Squeeze lime juice on top, like that. You have your bowl of the sesame nutmeg Mexican style matzo balls. So soft.
Hi everyone, my name is Fany Gerson, and I'm gonna show you how to make one of my favorite Passover dishes, which is Gefilte Fish Mexican style. You can use any white fish that you can get. I got some black sea bass. You're gonna need some eggs, salt, sugar, white onion or whatever onion you can find, some tomatoes, and whatever chilies you have. You can use, this is dried chipotle. We also have chipotle that comes in a can, and guajillo chilies, and matzo meal, of course. The first thing we're gonna do is the sauce. You want some tomatoes, a couple of cloves of garlic with skin and all, and you're gonna put them in the broiler. You're gonna clean your guajillo chilies. You're just going to remove the seeds. Next, you're gonna heat a pan or a skillet, whatever you have around, and you're gonna heat these up for about a minute or so on each side until it starts to look glossy. And then you're gonna have a pot of hot water next to you. If you're using chipotles, you do the same thing, but you don't need to remove the seeds. So you're gonna get your pot hot. You're gonna put a little bit of avocado, canola, or vegetable oil. And then you wanna be very careful because it can splatter. You're gonna strain your sauce right into the pot. We have the fish ready. Normally I would put the onions, I had forgotten to mention we use carrots, this is 1 carrot, in the food processor. But since I don't have a good one here, I just used a box grater and I removed some of the liquid of the onion, and we're just gonna mix everything together. Some salt, a little bit of sugar, some matzo meal, the eggs, now we're ready to shape the gefilte fish. Make them into oval shapes. So this is the color you're looking for, just slightly brown. Now they're nice and brown on both sides. And we're gonna put straight into the sauce. It's gonna continue cooking. And depending on the size of your gefilte fish, it's gonna cook. It's gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes more. I can't wait for my son to try. This is gonna be his first time. So if you wanna get a little fancy, you can put some of the guajillo chilies and fry it in the same oil for like a minute or so that you did the gefilte fish. And that's it.
In celebration of Passover, I decided to make a Seder plate salad. All the ingredients that make up the Seder plate, we're gonna mix together into one salad. The first thing I'm gonna do is make my vinaigrette. To make the vinaigrette, I'm gonna cut a lemon and just squeeze out some of that juice. Try not to get any seeds in there. I'm gonna put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in there. A little bit of whole grain mustard, and a little drizzle of honey. And I'm gonna add my horseradish to my dressing. Then we're gonna cut up some of these beautiful spring onions that I picked up from our farmer who is now selling all of his vegetables from a farm stand where you just walk up and they put them in your car. So there's still access to fresh vegetables. Support your local farmers. Find the people locally that are baking breads, milling flour. I'm gonna season it with a little bit of salt. And I'm just gonna stir all of that together. This is just a really awesome horseradish vinaigrette. So here we have our bitter herbs, our green leaf lettuce. I have that beautiful dressing that we just made. I'm just gonna drizzle that all over the top here. You can't have a Seder plate salad without parsley, so we're gonna chop up some parsley and add that to the salad as well. Sprinkle that parsley all over. All right, we're gonna add our Carosa, or our apples and walnuts. We're gonna now put on our lamb shank, take the bone out, and just sprinkle this over. And one last thing to our Seder plate salad is the egg. So I just soft cooked these eggs. I love the way that the yolk kind of combines with the dressing once it's all mixed together. And that is the final touch. Enjoy.
I like these little Persian cucumbers. They're sweet and delicious, and they're just the right size for one person. So if you're cooking for 4 people, I would do 1 cucumber per person. But if you're actually serving this as a little appetizer or something kind of fancier, then for sure you could do a half of one per person as well. I'm gonna take the ends off. I'm just gonna cut them vertically. I often will use these with the seeds in them, and in fact, maybe I'll save the seeds and chop them up in this salad. But in this case, I want them to be little boats, so that you can just pick up your salad like you're eating a romaine lettuce leaf, which is also typical use of carpas. So just scrape all those out, throw them in the ice water, and then we're basically gonna move on and make what we're gonna stuff them with. You can use any kind of bitter green you want. I love chicories, and especially as winter is going into spring. Obviously this is a very beautiful color, so I'm using red endive. You wanna slice this thin. This is a very tender salad, and you wanna be able, like I said, you're almost treating the chicory like an herb more than the sort of crunchy, radicchio vegetable that it usually is. So now I'm gonna cut cilantro. I love cilantro. To me, it's just so fresh. And like I said, I like the leaves of cilantro for some things, but I'm gonna use the stem end because I like the crunch. With the parsley, sometimes I'll just shave down the side. This has all been pre-washed. Okay, and you can chop them separately or together. I'm just gonna gather them up into a ball. Leave this as fine as possible so you don't have to go back over it. In the meantime, you want to throw the cucumber halves in the flavored vinegar. I basically took the trim from the parsley, the cilantro, and the horseradish that we're gonna be using, and threw those in with some vinegar, a little piece of onion, some sugar, and some salt. And I gave you some guidelines for what the amounts of sugar and salt are, but you can certainly make that as sweet or as savory as you tend to like things. So I'm basically dressing those cucumbers separately, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of this vinegar mix to also dress what's gonna go inside. A pinch of salt in there. You can use lemon or lime, and I don't have any at home right now. We're on COVID lockdown, but if I had a little bit of Vietnamese fish sauce, as I do at the restaurant, I would use it here. Then I'm gonna put a little bit of sumac in here too. So now olive oil, always. And at Chiquito, we would do something like this, and we would just throw the most gorgeous anchovy over the top of it.
So make sure that you just assemble them right before you're gonna eat. And the last thing you wanna do is top them off with some freshly grated horseradish, and they look really pretty.
We're We're gonna start by taking the cabbage, getting rid of the 2 outer leaves. Wash it. And then cut it in 4. Now that the cabbage is inside the cooking pot, let's start adding the rest of the ingredients. 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Make sure it's gonna cover all the cabbage. Salt. About 1 tablespoon. Raij. Approximately 2 tablespoons. And last, our water. And it's ready to go on the stovetop, medium-high heat, for approximately 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the size of your cabbage. If you cannot find New York Shuk Raij, please look online for recipes. This spice blend is really awesome for stews, soups. Try even just making a very regular chicken soup and adding Raij to it. It completely transforms it. While the cabbage is cooking on the stovetop, we're gonna make a quick herb salsa to accompany it. We're gonna start by chopping the parsley. Chop it as fine as you can. Now, if you have any other herbs in your refrigerator that you want to finish, feel free to add them in. If you have basil, if you have cilantro, if you have some chives or scallions, it would all go very well. A clove of garlic. Preserved lemon paste, approximately 2 tablespoons. If you cannot find or don't have by any chance preserved lemon paste, you can replace it with lemon juice. About half a cup of olive oil, and mix the whole thing. Now that 60 minutes had passed, we're going to be checking the cabbage. The knife should go through the cabbage just like it would in soft butter. So we can see that the cabbage now is ready. I'll baste the cabbage with the cooking liquids. Let's start plating it. We're gonna start by adding some of the herb salsa that we've made before. I hope you'll enjoy the dish. Happy Passover, everyone.
Hey everyone, this is Leah Koenig. I'm a food writer and author of the Jewish Cookbook. And today I'm going to be making one of my favorite Seder dishes. It's a Romanian apple kugel, and it's sweet and delicious, and I can't wait to share it with you. So you start by taking 6 sheets of matzah, and you want to pour water over. You just want to submerge the matzah with water and let that hang out for about 10 minutes while you get all of your other ingredients ready, and it's going to soften, and I'll show you the fun trick when we're done. We're going to get the rest of our kugel together. We are going to start by grating 1 apple. This kugel has all sorts of really great stuff in it: apples, raisins, walnuts, sugar. It's one of those kugels that straddles the line between dessert and a side dish. Most kugels have lots of eggs, especially Passover kugels. So this one, we have 6 eggs. So we're just looking to whisk them together. 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Of course, you can't have kugel, at least a sweet kugel, without cinnamon. So we need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And we are almost finished. What we're gonna do is actually really fun and therapeutic. You can do this over a sink or over a bowl. We're just gonna squeeze all of the water out. And you kind of want to crumble up the matzah while you're doing it. This is like super stress relieving. So I highly recommend it if you are feeling a little stressed, a little, overwhelmed by the situation right now, having to cook for Passover for maybe for the first time, if you're doing your first Seder because you can't go where you normally go. Make sure it gets all coated with our egg, apple, and raisin mixture.
Hey, I'm Jay Cohen. I'm in my home kitchen and I'm going to share with you what I'm making for Passover this year. This is a super easy apricot chicken with matzo stuffing. The inspiration behind this dish is my Aunt Susie, who makes this all the time. Growing up, Seder typically meant two things. There had to be brisket and there had to be apricot chicken. And even though I've taken over hosting the past few years, my husband and my sister's fiance both are obsessed with this apricot chicken. About 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And 1 onion, I just finely chopped it. You could throw in some garlic if you have, kind of go wild. Throw in 1 cup of chicken stock. And turn the heat off. Done. Stir in 2 tablespoons of apricot preserves and a tablespoon of chopped thyme. I have 4 sheets of matzah that I just broke up coarsely to make the stuffing. So I'm going to pour this over our matzah now. About halfway through, you do not want to open it completely, but just like that. Split it between all of them and then kind of just smush it in between and sandwich it closed. To go on top, I am stirring together a 1/4 cup of apricot preserves with a 1/4 cup of mayo, and what that's going to do is help get these stuffed chicken breasts super golden in the oven. The chicken is back into the pan that we cooked the onions in. Just gonna season it up with salt and then we'll get our apricot on top. And then we're just going to kind of spoon over the apricot mayo mixture. I'll just rub that on, and then this is gonna go into a 425-degree oven until they read 165 degrees when you insert a thermometer into the center of the stuffing. Final step is I'm going to pour in a 1/4 cup of chicken stock right into the side, not over the chicken, but just into the pan, like so, and that will just keep things juicy as it roasts. Make sure nothing burns. 25 to 30 minutes, beautiful color, super easy, nice little sauce at the bottom. Time to eat.
It's Mike Solomonov from Zahav Restaurant. We're gonna do some Passover cooking. We're gonna do my salt-baked brisket, which I'm pretty excited about. It's very, very simple. It requires a lot of time, not a prep, but just a baking. Couple things. But I like to use a little bit of kosher salt to season, a whole lot of kosher salt that's sort of added water to it to make it look like sand, which we're gonna wrap it and bake it. Grape leaves, these are brined, you can use fresh grape leaves as well. I use carob molasses, which is delicious and sweet and chocolatey, pomegranate jam, and a little Pierre Poivre. This is one of Leah Lev Sarkaz's sort of like pepper poivre spice blend, which is really good. You can literally just use salt and pepper if you want. If you have pomegranate, you can use that as well. With the knife, you're gonna just lightly score the fat cap on top of this brisket. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. We're gonna go salt. Right, now you don't have to go crazy with the salt, but you do want a good amount, both sides. Alright, we're gonna do the same thing with your spice. Now you can just use whatever peppercorns you want or not. A little coriander in there wouldn't be so bad. Or you could just go to Le Bourda Piece and order some of this. It's so, so good. Alright, we're gonna rub this in and massage it a little bit, okay? Guys, we're gonna take a little bit of our carob molasses. It's really nice and chocolatey. Now you can use anything you want. I like sweet with my brisket too, so maple syrup would be really good. Like I said, pomegranate molasses would be really good. What you're doing is basically insulating. These guys, the grape leaves are amazing. They're really, really sour. They've got this really, we brine them as well. So they're sort of preserved. So they've got salt. But what they're gonna do is create a barrier in between the salt and the meat, so it doesn't get too salty. All right. I'm just gonna lay this down on a baking tray. Let's get down. This is salted, looking pretty good. We're gonna actually just take this and throw this into a 275-degree oven for 6.5 hours. This has been about 6.5 hours. What you wanna do is take a paring knife and sort of pierce into it. Now you'll see the salt just sort of like cracks off, which is totally fine. You can just insert a little paring knife in there, and if it's tender and it feels soft, then it's ready to go. You yank it out. I've let this rest for about 20 minutes or so. It's still very, very hot. All right, we're gonna slice this guy up. Oh.
Hey guys, it's Adeena Sussman, the author of Sababa, and I'm super excited to show you my 3-ingredient hack on the classic Barton's Kiss. Growing up, there was no Passover dessert that I loved more than a Barton's Kiss, which was a roasty, toasty almond inside of a piece of sort of fudgy, chewy chocolate. But because I live in Israel, I'm gonna show you how to make a almond stuffed medjool date dipped in chocolate. So the first step is to get a medjool date. I've got some here that I've already pitted. And then I'm gonna just take 2 roasted almonds. You wanna roast those almonds really nice and roasty, toasty. When I was a kid, I always wanted there to be more almonds, so I'm gonna stuff 2 inside. The next thing you do is you take that and you dip it into some melted chocolate. Now, I'm a big fan of melting chocolate in the microwave, so that's what I did. And I'm just going to enrobe it in a very sort of casual way. And I'm going to put it onto a plastic wrap lined plate like this. Okay, these have been in the freezer for about 10 or 15 minutes and they've gotten nice and hard. The reason I do that is because that way if you want to be extra schmancy, you can wrap them. Now, I have these really, really fancy candy wrappers that I imported from America when I made Aliyah. But actually, since we're in the age of Corona, I think we should just use plastic wrap. I take this and I twist it together and then I twist the edges like candy. Now, isn't that just adorable? Happy Pesach. All right, now I'm gonna try one. Okay, I'm hoping that I've recreated that incredible experience from my childhood with the fudgy date and the crunchy, crunchy almonds and the amazing chocolate. So here we go. Oh my God, I think it's actually better. Thank you so much for watching and happy Passover.